Welcome to HopeCast. I'm your host, Diane Currie Sam, and I have with me today Kashif Sohail, the CEO and founder of Caremiles, a climate tech startup focused on mobility and the mass adoption of electric vehicles. Welcome. Let's tell some stories.
Hi, nice to meet you, Dan, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you. I want to start with telling me about your solution. So I want to hear about your technology, the EV Club app. What is it? What is it doing? And why is it benefiting people?
Well, that's a lot of questions. You get straight on to it, right? But let me set this up a little bit before I explain what our technology is or what it does. It is specifically focused on EV drivers, and we reflected on the progress electrification of transportation has undergone in the recent years, especially after the recent incentives and government regulations being announced. So after trillions of dollars being spent by the universe on getting people to drive EVs, I often stopped and wondered, is the consumer really winning? And the answer was an astounding no. If you're a poster child of all the universal efforts, if you drive an EV today, and if you happen to be a non-Tesla driver, you've got it slightly harder. But regardless of any brand, your vehicle experience depends on what you drive and where you live. If you and I drive the same vehicle, but you have a private garage at home to charge at night and I don't, then our experiences are very different. In my household, we are electric EV household. I've got 3 EVs in my house. And all three of us, me, my wife, and my daughter, have completely different experiences on our vehicles. So what my technology does is it bridges that gap. We don't see it ever standing up and becoming attaining the scale that we expect it to if the user experience is this broken. Just last quarter, it was reported that 18% of EV drivers are already saying, oh my God, what have I done? I want to go back to my gas.
That's not good, is it?
It's not.
Yeah.
So how do you create a solution or an environment where EV experiences are more democratized, and it shouldn't depend on what I drive or where I live? So that's what my technology does. How it works is we speak to your car. So unlike some of the solutions out there, we don't track your mobile phone. It's extremely privacy intrusive. I don't know how people allow that. But we don't track your phones and then triangulate, you've been to this part or you've been to that part, so you've driven a mile. And we don't attach any devices on your vehicle. So we work on secure connected car data. And based on that secure connection, the automatically in the background, the technology works in a way that delivers the solutions that we're trying to deliver. So I'll just take a pause here. I won't go into what the solution is.
Sure. Yes. As the consumer, what does it benefit me? Because I liked what you said about I bought my EV. 18% of people are, oh, what have I done, right?
Yeah.
How does it benefit me to use your app as a consumer? What feeling do I get? Tell me maybe a little story around that.
Oh, nice. So there are 3 distinct problems that we have heard from our EV drivers. First one was, hey, Diane, do you know what your charging costs are every month? A very simple question. When I used to drive a gas car, I used to have this much of money being spent on gas, and the rates are advertised. I know. As an EV driver, I have no idea. 9 out of 10 people significantly underestimated their expenses. So most would say, yeah, I get about $30 a month. It's not. It's a lot more than that. So one is the complete vacuum and this black hole of cost.
Yeah.
Second is convenient. If I happen to be a resident at a multi-family home apartment, I am competing with everybody else to get one of those 4 parking spots that building has. Yes. Otherwise, I've had it. Otherwise, I have to figure out some on my way to commute.
Yeah.
And reliability. Once I get to that charger, is that thing working or not? So the press is filled with complaints emerging in those 3 areas. So as a user, when you have my app, you get 3 things. First thing, every time you unplug your car from charging, without doing any, jumping through hoops or using different apps, you charge as normal, you unplug your car, you get a notification, hey Diane, you got this much of power in your car, it cost you this much. So first is the price. And then we tell you, hey, here's your money back, because guess what? It was free today.
See, that's what I love, right? Right?
So, so that's what we're
Kashif,
doing.
here's
Right?
what we're talking about, the money, right?
So yeah, so we offer you free EV charging anytime, anywhere, without jumping through different apps or juggling different apps. So one app, and as we like to call it, all the power, none of the fuss. So you as a user don't have to interact with our app while you're doing your everyday life things. When you go up to a charger, we want you to charge wherever you charge. If you charge at home, continue doing what you do. You just get your money back, and you're in the know.
So I like this, and I want to ask a couple questions about the big picture, because you and I have talked before this podcast about the changes that are coming, the transformation of an industry, how much time, effort, money has been spent into electrification of our world. What is your, I guess, end game or vision? If you imagined yourself and your company 5, 10, 20 years out, how has this technology grown? How has it impacted the industry and let's think big picture, the world, right? This is about climate tech adaptation now. So
that's a very broad, big question, but I'm glad you asked. So I'll take it in steps. I have a few angles to address this very broad question, and I hope it makes sense when I try and pull all of this together. So first one is, yeah, you rightly said climate tech. What are the solutions out there that are getting people to behave differently in their billions? Very few, if any. So if we continue to rely on donations and charity and being politically correct that, hey, Diane, wouldn't it be great if we were to plant a few more trees? We are way beyond that point. We need firm action. We need quick action. So that's one thing on scale on what do you need to induce as a significant behavior change in population. Second is, when you really look at overall CO2 emissions, almost a third of all human emitted carbon is coming out of transportation, and not your planes and trains, it's your road transportation. So if we don't solve for cars, we are not going to solve for climate change, period. And the third angle, Diane, is the world is moving as fast as it can to electrify transportation. But when I move from my gas car to the EV, that gas car does not fall off the planet. It goes to global south. So solving for electric cars and EVs is not solving for transportation, but it's an important start. And we need to make sure that people are adopting it. And fourth angle, if I may, that I add to it. I believe transportation or movement is a yardstick of progress. So, and that yardstick cannot be different in the West or in the South. If you look at the global emissions and global regions trying to fight it up, you need to create an environment where gas cars do not become an additional burden on those African and South Asian economies to get burdened with the gas cars that West does not want to have anymore on their roads. So it's a lot broader. What we hope to do in the midst of this industry is do two things if we can do this successfully. First is to create an environment where competition does not consume the industry and it implodes. 20 years ago, the same thing happened to financial industry in America. Look at how it is considered today as innovative versus the rest of the world. And the same thing is being allowed to happen in transportation industry when EV chargers and EV makers and everybody in between is coming up, us including, claiming to have the right solution. So it will take time, but what we hope to differentiate and create in this environment is not competing. We want to enable everyone to win. So if I am enabling Diane to charge her car whenever it's more convenient to her, it also allows incentive to those service providers to create those services. So we hope to be that agent that changes that industry and creates an equilibrium. That's number one. Number two, inward looking. I would like to think of us as a AAA for EVs, or a Google Nest for EVs, or a MasterCard for EVs.
Got it.
It's a network, it's a utility project, it's a tool in the hands of billions of people, hopefully.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. And these two, the next question, they're kind of related, but I know you're in beta mode. You've just put out an application. Tell me a customer story about that. What did it feel like to you? Maybe somebody called you up or talked to you and said, "Oh, I was so thrilled about how this worked," or how they're on the ground, how they're dealing with that. Or I should say on the road.
So I just met a lady this morning. And I was curious about, so I was also charging my car and she plugged in next. And she was telling me that her monthly charges are X dollars, Y dollars. She was making some guesses. But when I asked her, hey, what's the thing that annoys you the most about your EV? And she said the most insightful things. She said, I feel the car should be making things easier for me. Now I'm having to dance around my car. And that doesn't make sense to me. And that was very profound insight. And when we explained to her, hey, this is what we do, why don't you try this? And she said, oh, I would definitely want to. She did it, insisted that she downloads then and there. And I was expecting it was for the cost. And she said, you know what? I just dropped my kids off in the mornings, and that's the best part for me to charge. I came here reluctantly because this is the most expensive time to charge at this charger. So I usually waste this time in the morning when I could be charging my car, but then I have to make another trip in the evenings to charge because I don't have a charger at home.
Got it. Yeah, perfect. It just answers everything that you were trying to approach, right? It's good. So, and then related to that for you is, how did this company start? Was there an aha moment? I have to do this. Like, what was the starting story of this company?
So it happened about 2 years ago during the peak of COVID, when a lot of us were introspecting and reflecting on what life means and what we're doing here. It was that period. I had a great day at work. I used to work at MasterCard and I had a fantastic, meeting. I was driving home, really feeling great about myself. I come from very humble beginnings and I was thinking, oh, man, you did it. And I was charging my car and I came across this video of a girl holding a small dead plant in a vast barren land behind her. And the caption was, how did we get here? And now what? Now, that wasn't the first time that I saw an emotionally appealing, a photograph like that. But something in that moment hit me, Diane. There I was, just feeling good about myself that, yeah, man, see, look at what I got. I just got promoted. I'm sitting in my fancy Tesla now. And then there was this girl and asking the universe, so what now? And the answer is not to that girl, I believe. The answer was for me to look in the mirror and give that answer. So that changed. I'm blessed to have an equally crazy wife. She was supportive of the idea. We have both embraced this new purpose. I quit my job, sold my house, moved to California, and went behind this purpose. And yeah, it's been great.
Great. And the other thing I'm always interested in is the people. So could you tell me a little bit about the people you work with, or the collaboration partners? Who are you bringing together to make this happen? And how do you feel about the people you're working with?
Brilliant. So in two ways, my most immediate circle of influence, my intention was to gather people around me who know some things about climate, some things about transportation, and all the things that we're trying to solve. I have none of those. I'm a banker. I'm a boring data guy. payments guy, and most people don't trust me because, hey, I'm a banker, right? So how do you surround yourself with talent that can rally with you with the same degree of passion? So, and I would always say this, my first hire, our team member was a behavioral scientist, not anybody else, but a behavioral scientist, because what we're trying to break is, we're not going to tell you sad stories. We're not going to throw guilt and fear at you to save the environment. We're going to get you to do a behavior that you think is value for you. And in doing so, the planet wins. And while doing all this, I want us all to have fun. There's enough chaos and anger in the world already. We want it lighthearted. So that's our gig, Diane.
Nice, nice. And
The second part,
oh yeah,
sorry,
go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
second part of your
Yeah.
question was, who do we work with? Who do we collaborate?
Yeah.
So we have one angle is extreme, deep, fancy tech. So you will have the cutting edge AI companies, you will have the cutting edge data and server companies, because it is data that we are trying to monetize in your favor, which is currently being lost or being enjoyed by powers that be. So one is this data and technology angle. The second aspect of our partnerships is climate and sustainability. And third aspect is obviously the vehicle clubs and the groups of EV users that enjoy our facility. So these are the three broad types of companies or people that we work with.
Got it. Good. And so the other, I guess this is about the future again. This is called HopeCast. I really believe that there's a deficit of hope in this world. Like you said earlier about doom and gloom and doomerism, that type of thing. What would your pitch to this younger generation coming up who are faced with an uncertain future? What would you tell them about stories of hope? And
great. So my first message is, do not take no for an answer. My generation has probably failed you already, but it's not too late for you. The second good part is, you guys don't have to live the way I lived or I grew up. You have an opportunity to live differently, eat differently, travel differently, even love differently. The social norms are changing, the life structures are changing. So I would encourage you to look at those changing aspects of life as instruments of change and embrace them. Do not fight. So my last message to the newer generation is, specifically if I want to look at the 18 to 24 years old, what you guys do in the next 10 years will determine the future of humanity. So be very wise in what you stand for and what you say no to.
Nice. And how important do you think stories of hope are?
Without hope, I think there's no point, right, Diane?
Yeah.
So, stories of hope, thank you for starting this whole series and so passionately leading this. Stories of hope are, in a way, the most important element for our stories of hope. Make us think or imagine a certain future of life.
Yeah.
And if I can't even help someone think of a better tomorrow, I have wasted all of my today and yesterday.
Yeah.
So stories of hope is fundamental for life and fundamental for us to stay sane and help each other up.
Well, thank you, because you really articulated there what this is about. It is fundamental to be able to envision the future that your company and EV Club can get us there it's not going to solve the whole world, but in its own way, it can make an impact. So tell me more about it's evclub.app for anyone listening, and it'll be in the show notes as well. What's coming up? What are you excited about you'd like to tell our listeners?
Well, so we have made available our app for early access and early users. We have already a backlog of customers that are waiting to get in. Our initial reviews are fantastic. We are very encouraged by the initial early results. So I would encourage the listeners out there, hey, if you drive an EV, if you want free charging anytime, anywhere, and if you don't download this app, totally up to you. But I would encourage you to do that. Experience how simplification can actually work.
Great.
I would encourage you to enlist for early access. It gets open very soon for general public. One thing that we have, I would like to remind our users or our customers is in the first 3 months of launch, the app is completely free as well. So you
Nice.
really would be charging for free for the first 3 months.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. This has been Kashif Sohail from Caremiles, and he was talking about the EV Club app you can go and download. I really appreciate your time and for sharing your HopeCast, your story of a different future ahead. And I really do appreciate your time with us today.
Thank you very much, Diane.